welcome to this episode. Today we're going to talk about how to balance YouTube and life. So when you're starting out on YouTube, it can be a lot of hard work and you might not see a lot back. So we want to make sure that you don't get overwhelmed and burned out.
I'm so excited to introduce today's guest. She has started on YouTube 1 year ago and is on her way to 1,000 subscribers. She posts weekly videos on productivity, self-care, fitness, and beauty. Welcome, Marilyn Brimacombe. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Of course, we're so excited. We loved watching your videos. And one thing we wanted to ask everyone who comes on our podcast is what inspired you to start your YouTube channel?
Well, I have loved YouTube since I was really, really young. I started watching like Bethany Moda, Alicia Marie, like all of the
The
classic,
classics.
all of the classic big like lifestyle YouTubers who were super popular. And I've been watching them since really young, and I've always like secretly wanted to be them. But yeah, I have always wanted to do YouTube. I actually did YouTube when I was like in high school, but didn't really do it that seriously. I just made like a few videos for fun because I've kind of always wanted to do it. And then like when COVID happened, I was really inspired to actually start Instagram. So I actually started on that platform first and like just started, posting photos more frequently, trying to take it more seriously. I was actually very inspired by like I don't know if you guys know like Emma Leger and Nitsan Raider. They're like really popular fashion bloggers. So
Okay,
I
I
was
have to
really
check them
like,
out. I don't think I've seen them.
yeah, they are like really well known for the like aesthetic feed and just like, fashion content, just aesthetic photos and aesthetic content. So I was kind of going down that route first and then started to grow my Instagram platform. But I always kind of felt like I had more to say and more to share. And I knew that YouTube would be like quite a big commitment since I'm in school and I'm a full-time student. So I was a bit hesitant starting YouTube, but I knew I always kind of wanted to go on that platform. I started YouTube last year and I'm so happy that I did.
Oh, that is awesome. So you have a lot going on in your life. Like you're in college, and then I see from your vlog, really focus on like exercising, reading, obviously posting on other social media, journaling, and all of that. So how are you balancing being a YouTuber with all the other things you have going on in your life?
It's a struggle constantly. And I get a lot of questions about that too on my Instagram. I don't know. I just kind of like try my best to kind of have a balance between everything. I mean, I do prioritize my school and my education. That's like my biggest priority right now. And then definitely like my social media comes after that. I really go to my organization and my planning. That's like key for me. Like I need to be organized and have a schedule or else I can't get anything done. Yeah, I actually just recently started Google Calendar and now it's like my best friend. I love it. And I really like time batching. That's something that is really helpful for me. So, kind of like at the beginning of the week or whenever I'm able to, I take some time to kind of look at my week, look at when I can fit in social media time because obviously, like, my classes are set schedule and I have times during the week when I have those. So I kind of try my best to work around my classes, to film and edit, and definitely editing takes a lot of work. Not gonna lie, I kind of like tend to stay up kind of late doing my editing because that's like my only time to do so, but I love it and it makes me happy doing it.
Yeah, and when college or when things get busier and you have more maybe exams coming up or assignments, have you ever taken a break from social media, either YouTube or Instagram?
Yeah, no, for sure. And that was something that I was going to, mention and talk about as well. I really try to stress like on my platforms that, it's okay to take breaks and it's like you should be listening to your body. If you need rest, you should take rest. And it's definitely hard because I do feel burnt out sometimes, or I sometimes lack some creative, juices for videos. I just try to go with whatever I'm feeling and whatever feels best for me. And I try not to put too much pressure on myself because I do have a lot of things to balance. Just try my best. And, I try not to pressure myself too much if I'm not super consistent every single week. And I think it definitely feels better to do so or else I'd be really hard on myself because I do want to keep it really fun and light, and I want to film when I feel like I want to film. Just this past week, I was kind of in a bit of a slump, in a bit of like a rut, and I wasn't feeling like myself. I should have filmed because I try to post once a week. I think it's important to listen to yourself.
Yeah,
So,
that makes sense. It's really
yeah.
good that you know your priorities because everyone who starts YouTube is going to have different priorities. So you
Mhm.
mentioned that or sometimes you find yourself in a bit of a slump. So when you lose motivation or when you find yourself procrastinating, what do you do to get yourself back into the zone?
Yeah, so this is something that, every time this occurs for me, I'm like trying to navigate and trying to figure out. Self care is so important. I really like taking self care days, and something that I really want to start doing for 2022 is like having a day like each month that is for me and like doing things that I love. So whether that's like journaling or reading, like you mentioned, that I really like to show on my YouTube and my Instagram, just like doing things for yourself and like being your own best friend, getting inspired again. I like scrolling on Pinterest and just like consuming other content to see like what other people are putting out and like just trying to get re-inspired. But I definitely think like taking time for yourself and taking a break is like key.
Yeah, I really like your idea. That's something I'm going to incorporate. I'm going to like schedule in on my calendar once a month, like at least one day that is just like for what I want to do. I think that's such a good idea.
I know. I
And
heard that from I'm not sure if you know JC Marie Smith.
yes.
Yeah, so she was talking about that on her podcast about how she's trying to do that, and I love that idea. So I'm gonna try and like kind of schedule that out more and make it more of a thing for me.
And talking about podcasts, you just mentioned one. Which ones are you listening to now that you're really enjoying?
So my favorite podcast that I'm like constantly sharing on my Instagram and my YouTube, I feel like I sound like a broken record sometimes because people are like, hey, Marilyn, we get it. We like this podcast, but it's the Skinny Confidential. I'm not sure if you guys know, but I just love Lauren. She is just like the queen of productivity and just like having her life together. It's her and her husband who are talking on the podcast, and I just love like all the stuff they talk about regarding business. So that's definitely like one of my favorite podcasts, but I really like Emma Chamberlain's podcast too. I know that one's really popular, and I really like What We Said with JC and Chelsea. Yeah, I think those are like my main ones right now that I'm really liking.
That's amazing. Are there any productivity tips that you learned from those podcasts that you can share, or are there any like tips that you followed yourself?
Yeah, so I think probably the biggest one that I've learned from the Skinny Confidential is time batching, which I've mentioned. It just really helps for structure in your week and your days. Basically, how it works is like you want to schedule blocks of time for certain things. So if I have like a paper due, say tomorrow, I would probably do like, okay, I'm going to write my paper from 12 to 3. And so that time is solely for writing my paper. And then say I have like I'm recording a podcast, so I put that time in there as well. I've got an appointment, so that's also a time block. But I think just like being really granular and really specific about the things that you have to get done and like putting that time in your schedule so you can visually see that. I think that's really helpful. That's something that is really important for me with productivity. But honestly, with all of that and like being really structured, I think like personally at my roots, I'm very just like go with the flow. And especially when it comes to my YouTube and like my other social media content, I kind of want to go with more of a like casual posting schedule, like kind of just posting when I feel like I want to post. Like recently, like I mentioned, I was kind of feeling like I was in a rut for a few days. And based off of how I'm actually feeling in the certain week or what I'm doing, I kind of base my content around that. So I was thinking of like filming a YouTube video about like getting out of a rut. So like actually on how I feel. So it's like more real.
Actually, that's a great idea. See how you feel and then create a video around it because probably a lot of people are feeling or have felt the same way. And I think time batching sounds like a really good tip for anyone who's listening. And something you mentioned, it was actually a question I was going to ask, like what happens when you time batch or you plan out specific amount of hours and it takes longer or anything like that. But you already mentioned that you have quite a
Mhm.
bit of like flexibility and things like that. So I think that sounds really good. One thing I did want to ask then is you also post a lot of vlogs, and vlogging is kind of like throughout the day showing what's happening. And like personally, it can feel like for me, a lot of work in terms of having to film throughout the whole day. How do you plan for that? Do you just pick up the camera when you feel like it, or do you put it into your schedule that day? I'm going to be filming a little bit in the morning, or when I'm going to, start online studying or homework. How do you plan for those vlogs?
I think recently too, I've been trying to like reevaluate my vlogging or just my filming in general because I don't know, I feel like always torn between going with how I feel in the moment during the day or being more planned and structured with my videos and like writing out all the different clips that I'm going to be filming, But I usually tend to just like go with what I'm feeling. And like, especially for vlogs, I really like to have a mix of like talking sections and then also a mix of just like clips without any audio, like of me talking, just like clips of what I'm doing just to like keep people engaged and like adding text and all of that. So I try to just like when I'm filming a vlog, do both. And then like with editing, I can kind of go around that to like make it really interesting for people.
Yeah, the power of editing. I think that's great. And one of the things then with going with the flow and also filming when you feel like, kind of, it's a little bit off our topic, but just a question in terms of the equipment. What do you use? Because I imagine having like a big set of lights and tripod and camera can be a little bit limiting if you're like, oh, I want to film a little bit now, and then you have to set up and everything. So, what do you use for those kind of videos?
Yeah, so definitely for vlogging, I will just use my Canon G7X and it's the Mark II one. So I actually use that camera for like all of my filming, whether it's like a vlog or if it's a sit down video. But I do have a tripod that actually works with my phone as well so that I can use it for TikToks if I need to, or like even just shooting Instagram photos. So that's kind of nice and handy that my tripod works for both things. And then I also have a ring light that attaches to the tripod. I haven't really like used my ring light yet actually. I've just been using the tripod, but the tripod's really helpful to get it at like a certain angle that you want. And then I also have like a handheld tripod. Both are from Amazon and they're like pretty affordable. So I highly recommend getting a tripod. I think it just makes your life a lot easier. But sometimes I get kind of lazy with using my handheld tripod, and I'll just like stack a bunch of things on my desk, and then just put my camera on top and just call it a day. Because in the end, I'm just filming like a quick little vlog clip.
So yeah, that's good to know because I'm sure like a lot of people listening might be like quite new to YouTube. So it's good to know even if you don't have all the equipment yet, like you can always like find ways to work around it.
For sure.
So you've shared so many amazing tips with us today, but if there is just one key takeaway that you'd like to share, it can be something that you already said, but one key takeaway for listeners today, what would it be?
I would definitely say that, with having a lot of things on your plate and your schedule and things that you need to balance, I definitely think having in your head like priorities is really important. And then kind of going through your week and your days with your priorities in mind is really important. But then also not putting too much pressure on yourself to like always be on it because that's not always going to be the case. Like we're always going up and down. Sometimes we're in ruts or we're in a little slump. Maybe we are not feeling like the most creative, but you want to get it. Important to just listen to your body and listen to how you're feeling and kind of like go about your YouTube and your social media content based off of that. It's really helpful to do that.
I love your mindset and I've learned so much from you today.
Yeah, so
Oh, thank you.
if
I'm
you
so glad.
Yeah, of course. No, I'm definitely feeling inspired by all of this. And if you are listening to this and you're feeling inspired as well, please go check out and subscribe Marilyn's channel. So it's Marilyn Brimacombe. And it's the same on Instagram and TikTok. And if you are watching this on YouTube, we will have all the links in the description so that you can find and subscribe and follow and everything. So thank you, Marilyn, for being part of our podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much for listening and we'll see you next time.
Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast as well so you don't miss out on any more tips. See you next time.